Have you ever stopped to think about the mountain of paperwork behind every single medicine out there? It's not just red tape, It's actually a super detailed blueprint for safety and quality. Today, we're going to unpack a really crucial piece of that blueprint. We're going to demystify how drug makers prove, without a shadow of a doubt, that their product is safe and effective every single time.
So this is the big question, right? This is what regulators need to know, and it's what every pharmaceutical company has to answer. It's one thing to create a fantastic medicine once in a lab, but how do you prove you can make it perfectly, identically, millions of times over? Well, the answer, as you'll see, is that it all comes down to telling a very, very convincing story.
Now, to get our heads around this, we're going to use a simple analogy. Let's just forget about tablets and injections for a minute. Instead, let's imagine we're in the business of making the world's most amazing gourmet popcorn. Believe it or not, the principles for guaranteeing quality are pretty much the same, just, a little bit tastier. Okay, so here's our roadmap. We're going to follow the entire journey of our popcorn. We'll start with the big idea, the main blueprint. Then we'll get into perfecting that recipe. After that, we'll head inside the factory to see how it's made, run it through a final quality check, and finally, figure out the packaging and how long it'll last on the shelf. Each of these steps perfectly mirrors a key section of the real regulatory file.
All right, first things first. Before we can do anything, we need to know exactly what it is we're making. This is the master plan, the 30,000-foot view of the whole project. In the pharma world, they call it the drug product. That's simply the final thing the patient gets, the pill they swallow, the cream they use, the injection they receive. In our story, it's that beautiful, sealed box of gourmet popcorn ready for movie night. It's the finished article.
So the specific part of the file we're looking at today, this 3.2 QAMP section, is basically the ultimate instruction manual for our popcorn. And when I say complete, I mean complete. It's got all the science, all the ingredients, the machines, the tests, everything from a single kernel of corn to that final sealed box. Absolutely nothing is left to chance.
So how do you even start writing a manual like that? Well, it all begins with the recipe. You can't have a world-class product without a perfect formula. This next part is all about the research and development that goes into creating that magic formula.
Section P1 is, for all intents and purposes, the recipe card. It is a complete, detailed list of every single thing that goes into the product. For our popcorn, we're talking the exact type of corn kernel, the brand and fat content of the butter, the grain size of the salt. Every little component is spelled out right here.
But P2 is where it gets really cool. It's not just a list of what's in it, it's the story of why those things are in it. Why this kind of butter? Why pop the corn at exactly 385 degrees Fahrenheit? This section tells the whole R&D story, justifying every single choice with data and science.
You can just picture this development phase, can't you? It's all about exploration. It's like looking through a telescope at a universe of possibilities. You're testing all the potential ingredients, all the different ways to combine them, and through tons of experiments, you finally zero in on that one perfect formulation that gives you the best crunch and flavor every single time. Okay, recipe, check. We've got our perfect formula. But now for the next big challenge. How do you go from making one perfect bowl of popcorn in the lab to making 1 million identical boxes for the store? Well, for that, we have to step inside the factory.
Section P3 lays out the entire manufacturing process, step by step. Think of it like a super detailed flowchart, mapping out everything from the moment the raw kernels arrive at the factory to the instant the final box is sealed. Every single stage is described in painstaking detail.
Think of this part as the engineering schematic for the entire production line. It lists every single machine, every dial setting, every temperature gauge, and all the critical checkpoints along the way. These are the gears of production that make sure your recipe becomes a reality, consistently and reliably.
Of course, it's not just about the main ingredient, right? In medicine, these other components are called excipients. For our popcorn, that's the butter, the salt, and the oil. Section P4 is where you prove that these supporting actors are also top quality, sourced from reliable suppliers, and meet their own strict standards.
All right, the popcorn is made. It's coming off the production line in all its glory. But how do we know for sure that it's perfect? Well, it's time for the final quality check. This is where you prove with cold, hard data that the product meets the super high bar you've set for it.
So, Section P5.1 is what's known as the specification. This is basically the test checklist. It defines in measurable terms what perfect actually means. The taste has to be perfectly buttery, the crunchiness score needs to be above 9 out of 10, and the salt content has to be in a very specific, narrow range.
These are the official targets. Okay, but having targets is one thing. How do you actually measure them? That's where the analytical procedures in P5.2 come in. These are the official, scientifically validated lab tests you use to check everything. Maybe it's a chemical test for saltiness or a special machine that measures crunch. This is the how behind the quality control.
And finally, you have to show your work. Section P.5.4 provides the actual results from real batches of your popcorn. This is the report card. It's the hard evidence that proves a specific production run passed all the tests and hit every single one of its targets. This is the ultimate proof in the pudding, or the popcorn.
We are so close. The popcorn is made, it's tested, and it's perfect. Now we just need to get it in a box, make sure it stays fresh, and lock down our ultimate benchmark for what perfect really is.
So, Section P.7 is all about the packaging, what's technically called the container closure system. And let me tell you, this is way more than just a pretty box with a logo. It's a whole science. It's about designing a system that protects the popcorn from light, moisture, and oxygen, making sure it stays just as fresh as the day it was made.
But how long will it stay fresh? That's the question that Section P.8 stability testing answers. You take your packaged popcorn, you store it for months, sometimes years, under different conditions, and you test it along the way. This is the data that proves how long it maintains its quality, and it's exactly how they set the expiration date on the box.
And one last crucial piece. How do you keep things consistent for years and years? That's where reference standards from Section P6 come in. You basically create a golden batch, one perfectly made, super well-analyzed batch of your popcorn. Every new batch that comes off the line gets compared against this golden standard to make sure absolutely nothing has drifted over time. So, when you put it all together, you can see that this drug product section isn't just a jumble of data points. It's a complete story. It tells the entire narrative of a product, from a brilliant idea in a lab to a safe, effective, and totally reliable medicine, or box of popcorn, that you can trust completely.
You know, this incredibly detailed blueprint is all about ensuring consistency and trust, making sure the millionth dose is exactly the same as the first. And it really makes you think, doesn't it? What other complex fields out there, like aerospace or even software development, could benefit from telling their product story with this level of clarity and detail? It's definitely some food for thought.